that's coming up, the tuning into your divine calm, you say how it's the deepest dive on vagal tone. Now you're always talking about vagal tone, but this one seems like it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, we're going to go through each, like we're going to start with like where it comes out, and we're going to look at the inner ear, and we're going to look at the vocal cords, and we're going to look at, the muscle and fascia, and we're going to look at, specifically on the heart, and we're going to look at the lungs and the bronchioles, and also the respiratory rate. Because a lot of times we just look at the bronchioles. We don't really address the respiratory rate a whole bunch. Then we go into the digestive tract, the urinary tract, but then we look at homeostatic emotions and how they either impact vagal tone or get stirred up because of vagal tone. Going back to even the idea of like phobias and things like that, that all could play a role into that. The effects of trauma. I mean, we're going through and looking at different pieces like under the microscope so that we can, a lot of times we do like a very general, like let's get our body out of fight flight and increase and improve vagal tone. But like even the idea of working with angels, like working with angels is another way of you're working vagal tone in different ways. And so a lot of times we have pieces that have good vagal tone of our physiology, and then we have pieces that don't. And, like a really big one is the vocal cords. The vocal cords in the inner ear. As we get older, the inner ear just, it increases the level of poor vagal tone as we just get older and older and older. And it throws off our balance, but I would say it also can produce anxiety. It can make the emotions a bit unstable just because our equilibrium's off. And so it can really stir things up. It can cause adrenals to be over activated. And so, we're looking at vagal tone in the endocrine system, but not just how the glands impact vagal tone, but how vagal tone impacts the glands, like going back and forth. And, you know, we'll do it through practice. We don't necessarily have to sit and memorize or have some deep understanding of it. But as you go through and have a practice, you'll realize, oh, the one that kind of blows my mind is the vocal cords. It it when I really started doing a deep dive on the vocal cords, it relaxed my joints. And I'm still kind of blown away by it, and I'm still don't quite understand it completely. But even synovial fluid and how the joints lubricate, it changed after I did the work on the vocal cords. And so there's these weird correlations that we don't really see why, that doesn't make sense intellectually, but from a physiological viewpoint, these systems are so interconnected that, when we look at it from the point of view of a symptom-oriented approach, it kind of doesn't make sense. But when you look at it as this big system and what it's doing and how it functions and how it allocates itself, there's some sort of component there, but it doesn't make sense from the point of view of symptoms. And so we're doing a very deep dive on that one. Yeah.